When Lauri Markkanen came to Utah, nobody expected him to blossom into a star. In his second season, Lauri averaged 18 points per game, but he wasn't very efficient. While he was only 21, the Bulls gave him a short leash and reduced his role over the years. By the time the Jazz got him, Lauri was viewed as a role player because he was never given the opportunity to shine. With more responsibility in Utah, Lauri has established himself as one of the league's best scorers, averaging 25 points on nearly 50-40-90 splits. The problem is, the Jazz are not ready to contend, and Lauri can help a team win now. As a result, there's a belief that Utah should trade him and bring in assets for the future. While Lauri would be a perfect fit for a contender, we shouldn't dismiss Utah as a great spot for him going forward. That being said, I'm going to explain why Utah should hang up the phone and hold on to Lauri Markkanen. Before we get into it, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season, and your support goes a long way. With all that being said, let's get into the video. There are two main reasons why the Jazz should keep Lauri Markkanen. Number one, he has said that he wants to stay in Utah long term, and two, he's a unique talent. When you're a small market team in the NBA, holding on to stars isn't easy. The Jazz did trade both Mitchell and Gobert in 2022, but that experiment had run its course. Utah clearly wasn't going to win a title with that duo, so they cashed in while they still could. In contrast, Lauri has only played one full season with the Jazz, so they need to take their time and build with him, rather than jumping at the first opportunity to trade him. He has a high IQ and doesn't rely on his athleticism, so at just 26 years old, I don't see him declining anytime soon. Markkanen could be an integral piece for the Jazz going forward, because as I said, he's a unique player. While he's known as an elite shooter for a 7-footer, it's his willingness to play off the ball that stands out. Many stars look disinterested when the ball isn't in their hands, which hurts the team. In Lauri's case, he's comfortable running off screens to get an open three, or cutting to the basket when the opportunity presents itself. When your star player doesn't dominate the ball, it allows others to step up and feel more involved. This is such an underrated aspect of Lauri's game, and it explains why so many teams are interested in him. At this point, you're probably thinking, all of that sounds great, but how can this team reach the next level? While the Jazz have been playing great basketball as of late, they're still 4 games below 500, and their ceiling is likely a first-round exit. By trading Lauri now, they could hypothetically get a nice return and improve their odds at a top pick over the next few years. However, we have to ask ourselves, is this what's best for the Jazz? Between Mitchell and Gobert, Utah received 7 first-round picks and 3 pick swaps. The Jazz also got a 2027 first from the Lakers when they traded Mike Conley, so if the prize of a Lauri Markkanen trade is more first-rounders, those picks will become redundant. Trading Markkanen would make the team worse and increase their odds of landing a top pick, but nothing is guaranteed in the draft lottery. For example, the Rockets and Pistons had the best odds of getting the first pick in 2023, but they ended up falling to number 4 and 5. It's also important to consider that for every Victor Wembanyama, there's a number 1 draft choice that doesn't pan out. While there are success stories, there are plenty of teams that tried to tank for the number 1 pick and failed. Lauri isn't some generational superstar, but he's a talented player that fits in seamlessly with anyone. He's developed so much since joining the Jazz, and as a small market team, you shouldn't be so quick to ship away your best asset. Even though Lauri is their best trade piece, they can still improve without moving him. Last season, the Jazz surprised everyone when they got off to a hot start. At first glance, Markkanen seemed to be the sole reason for that, but in reality it was more than a one-man show. Jordan Clarkson and Kelly Olynyk had career years, and though he didn't put up crazy numbers, Mike Conley had a huge impact on winning. Before he was traded to Minnesota at the deadline, Utah had a 22-20 record with him in the lineup. In exchange for Conley, the Jazz got a 2027 first from the Lakers, which is extremely valuable. At the making of this video, Kelly Olynyk is shooting 50-40-90, and he's averaging nearly 5 assists per game. Contending teams will show interest, and they'll definitely be willing to give up a first rounder for him. Jordan Clarkson and John Collins could also be moved in the offseason, so Utah can still add to their war chest of assets without trading Lauri. Now, it is worth mentioning that Utah's first round pick is only top 10 protected this year. If the pick falls outside the top 10, it goes to the Thunder. Some Jazz fans want that pick to convey, because the 2024 draft is expected to be a bad one. If Utah were to keep this year's pick, there would be a top 10 protection on their 2025 first, followed by a top 8 protection on their 2026 first. In order to rid themselves of those protections, the Jazz are pushing for the playoffs. Olynyk is on an expiring contract, so Utah will want to get something back for him, but Clarkson and Collins have multiple years left, meaning the Jazz don't have to trade them this season. Let's say Utah is successful and their pick falls outside the top 10, here's what they can do going forward. In the offseason, they can trade Clarkson and Collins like I mentioned, and offer Lauri Markkanen an extension. I expect the Jazz to tank next season and give their young guys lots of minutes. Colin Sexton and Keontae George have been impressive this year, and with more opportunity, they could take huge leaps in 2025. Walker Kessler is another exciting prospect, and I believe Utah is trying to develop him into a Brook Lopez type of player. He's not starting right now because Utah wants to win games, and having Olynyk and Collins at the 5 provides better spacing. If Kessler wants to play more, he'll have to work on his 3, so I expect that to be an area he focuses on next year. Ochai Agbaji, Taylor Hendricks, and Bryce Sensabaugh will get more minutes too, which will allow them to carve out a role for themselves. As you can see, Utah has plenty of exciting young talent, and they'll have the opportunity to add to that in a strong 2025 class. Trading Markkanen sounds exciting, because in theory you could get a lot back for him. However, the Jazz have the potential to surround Lauri with a group of talented young players, and they have enough picks to acquire the next star that requests a trade. Some people feel that Lauri isn't worth a big extension, but when you have a lot of young players on their rookie scale contracts, it allows your team to have a lot more financial flexibility. All in all, the Jazz frequently go under the radar, which causes people to assume that nothing special is going on in Utah. In reality, they have a great young core, tons of draft picks, and a star player that can fit perfectly next to anyone. What they have going on is really exciting, so rather than shaking things up, the Jazz should stick with what they have and hold on to Lauri Markkanen. Anyways, that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. With all of that being said, I'm out, and I'll see you in the next video.